Okay, so just to recap 1.1 a little bit, because I did have to talk really fast during our class. When we're naming a point, we use one single capital letter. So if we were to name this point, we would just put letter A. If we are going to name a line, okay, we have to remember that we need to put our arrows. So we could name this line AC with a line and arrows on top. We could switch the order of the letters. We could use the B if we wanted to. So these are all ways to name a line. Sometimes you might see a single lowercase letter. In this case, we can say line L. A line segment is a little bit different because there are no arrows, only endpoints. So we would say segment or line segment XY and just put a line on the top. So just be careful, arrows versus no arrows. And then when we're naming a ray, we have one endpoint and then we have another point on the line. Maybe we have a third point as well. So we could say ray TU. We could say ray TS, but the important thing is that we name the endpoint first, and then the arrow must always go to the right. So even if we have a ray that's pointing this way, let's see, there we go. Even though it's pointing to the left, when we're naming this ray, we still name the endpoint first, which is G, and then any point in the direction that it's headed. And then our arrow is still going to the right. When we're naming an angle, we have two rays that combine at one vertex. So we could say this is angle B, or we can name it with three letters, ABC or CBA. Just remember when you're naming an angle, you want to name it in such a way that it does not cause confusion. So if I was to put another ray in here and maybe I had point D, I never want to say angle B because that's too confusing. If I maybe want to name this angle right here, I would say angle ABD or angle DBA. Remember, the vertex is always in the middle. And then the last thing that we talked about were triangles. So just remember, for a triangle, you name it, we just put a triangle symbol, and then you can pick the order of the letters. So you could do X, Y, Z. You could do Y, X, Z. Order doesn't matter. And there are, again, three segments or sides and three angles. So we were started to talk about unions and intersections. So union, which has the symbol U, means what do you get when you join things together? So if I was to union line segment XY with line segment YZ and with line segment XZ, what new picture did I create? Well, we already said that a triangle is a union of three segments. So if I combine these three pieces together, I get my triangle XYZ. That is a union. Intersection has a similar symbol. It's a U, but it's upside down. And an intersection means what happens when I take two things and what will they have in common. So let's say I wanted to take the intersection of XY with YZ. The best thing you can do when you're doing these types of problems is to color code things. So I'm going to highlight XY in pink. I'm going to highlight YZ in blue. And I'm going to look and say, okay, what do they have in common? Where are they overlapping? Well, the only overlapping part is this vertex Y right here. So their intersection must be point Y. So that's going to be the difference between an intersection and a union. If that's a little confusing to you, there's another visual representation here. This is actually how I learned it in college. We talked about sets. So our sets is just basically, it could be a group of numbers, letters, whatever it may be. So I have these two sets, set A and set B. So set A consists of the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And set B consists of the numbers 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So those are my two sets. So if I want to talk about their union, or what happens when I join them all together, well, if I join these together, I just end up with all of the numbers, 1 through 8. But if I want to talk about their intersection is where do they overlap, then the only two numbers where they overlap would be 4 and 5. So that's kind of a visual representation of unions versus intersections. So here's some practice for you, and I will post the answer key to this, but I just want to go over a couple of them with you. So let's look at the first two. One's an intersection problem and one is a union problem. So I just put these little cheats at the top. So union, remember, we're combining the pieces together to form a new picture. Intersection is what do they have in common. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight some of these objects. So I have first ray AC. I'm just going to take my pen and start from A, and since it's a ray, it actually extends past C and goes on infinitely in that direction. Then in a different color, I'm going to highlight CD. So CD starts at C and it goes infinitely in that direction. So if I'm going to answer the first one, what is the intersection of ray AC and ray CD? I want to know, what do they have in common? So I really just have to look for an overlap here. The places where the colors overlap is C on. So for this first one, the answer must be ray CD. That's what they have in common. Now, if I'm talking about the union of these two rays, well, what happens when I join them together? Well, ray CD is really just a piece of this larger ray AD. So if I union them together, I really still have ray AD. Or if you want to keep it as ray AC, you don't have to name it both ways. You can just pick one. So either of these would be an acceptable answer. You could put AB, anything that includes from A on to the right. So that's how you do a union and intersection problem. So let's do another one. So I'm going to highlight BC. So that starts at B and it goes on past C because it's a ray. And BA. So that starts at B and it goes past A. So there's my two colors. So if I want to find out their intersection, I want to know, what do they have in common? Well, the only place where the two colors meet is right here at point B. So that must be their intersection point. So I'm going to put point B, or just B, as my answer. If I want to union them together, well, what do I create when I join the blue line with the pink line? Or the blue ray with the pink ray? I get one long line. So for this one, my answer is just going to be line AD. Or you could put AC or BC. These would be all acceptable answers as long as my notation on the top is correct. I have to have the line with the arrows. For this one, I have to highlight AC. So I'm going to start at A and go all the way down to C. And I have to do BD. So start at B and go down to D. So if I want to find their union, what happens when I join them together? Well, if I join the two pieces together, I get this line segment from A all the way to D. So it must be AD. But if I want to find their intersection, we can see that the pink and the blue overlap from B to C. So that must be the intersection. Here I have line AC, so that's the entire line. And then I have CA, so we have the entire line. And then we have ray CA, so C heading off in this direction. So if I want to know their intersection, I want to see where's the overlap. Well, it overlaps from C all the way across. So their intersection must be ray CA. Okay, and for the last one, I have ray BA. So that's from here and it goes this way. I've got line segment BD. And I want to union them. So I want to join them together. So if I join together, my segment with my ray, well, then I just get an even larger ray. So the answer to this one would just be DA, ray DA, or ray DC, or ray DB. Those would all be acceptable answers. Okay, so I'm going to do these ones, and then I'll leave these bottom ones for you to do on your own. So this one's a little trickier because now we've got angles involved. So I've got angle PQT, so that's from here to here. And I've got angle TQR, so from here to here. So if I look at these and I want to know what's their intersection, what do they have in common? Okay, well, I have to look, where does the pink and the blue overlap? Now, it's a little hard to see because I was trying not to write on top of it so I can use this example more than once. But here, it's blue, but it's also pink. So they overlap at ray QT, because that's the part of the angle that they both have in common. So for the next one, we've got ray RP. So that would go from here through here. I'm not going to highlight in colors, but you can do it on your paper. And angle SQT. So RP, SQT, it's like an X. So the only place where they cross is at this center at Q. So the point of intersection would be point Q. For C, TS, line segment TS, so from here to here. And ray PQ. So P passes through Q and keeps going. So this is really similar to the last one because, again, it forms that X, and the only place where they cross is at Q. So that's their point of intersection. And then for the last one, I've got ray QS. So I'll go from Q through S. I've got ray QR. When I union them or join them together, what do I create? Well, if I put them all both together, I actually get this angle. So this one will be angle SQR. So hopefully that helps you a little bit with unions and intersections. I'll leave the bottom 4 for you to try on your own, and I will post the answer keys so that you can check your work.